Let me tell you something that will absolutely blow your mind and terrify you at the same time. I've been digging into some seriously dark stuff lately, and what I discovered about Ford's CEO Jim Farley and his recent warning, man, it's going to change everything you think you know about the future of work in America. So picture this. You're sitting at the Aspen Ideas Festival, right? All these rich, powerful people gathering to discuss the future. And then Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, one of the most iconic American car companies, gets up and drops this bombshell that should have been front-page news everywhere. But here's the thing, it barely got any coverage. Why? Because they don't want you to know what's really coming. Farley looked straight at that audience and said something that should terrify every single person watching this. Artificial intelligence is going to replace literally half of all white-collar workers in the U.S. Half. That's not some gradual change over decades. He's talking about an employment apocalypse that's already starting. By the way, if you're enjoying this kind of dark automotive deep dive, definitely stick around because I expose stuff like this pretty regularly. The mainstream media won't tell you these truths, but I will. The dark warning from Ford's inner circle. Now, here's where it gets really disturbing. Farley didn't just throw out some random prediction. This guy has access to data and insights that you and I will never see. He's running one of America's biggest automakers, and he's watching artificial intelligence transform not just car manufacturing, but the entire economic landscape. And what he's seeing is so dark that he felt compelled to warn people publicly. But wait, it gets even more sinister when you realize what Farley is really saying. He's not just talking about some distant future. He's talking about something that's happening right now, today, as we speak. While everyone's been distracted by political drama and social media nonsense, the biggest economic transformation in human history has been quietly unfolding. You know what really gets me? Farley talks about this concept called the essential economy. That's everything that gets moved, built, or fixed. According to him, that's a $12 trillion sector employing 95 million Americans. But here's the dark truth. While society has been pushing everyone toward college and white-collar careers, those are exactly the jobs that are about to disappear. Think about it like this. You know how when you're at a car dealership, they always try to sell you on the latest technology? All those fancy computer systems, automated features, artificial intelligence integration? Well, that same technology that's making cars smarter is also making human workers obsolete. It's like they've been selling us the rope to hang ourselves with. The corporate conspiracy. CEOs reveal their dark plans. And it's not just Ford. That reminds me of something else they don't want you to know. I've been tracking what other major CEOs are saying, and the pattern is absolutely terrifying. These aren't competitors. They're all singing from the same dark hymnal. Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, came out and said AI could eliminate 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs within 1 to 5 years. 1 to 5 years! That's not some far-off prediction. That's basically tomorrow. And he specifically said they need to stop sugarcoating the risks because most workers are unaware that this is about to happen. Now, this is where it gets really sinister. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy told his 1.5 million employees in writing that generative AI would reduce their total workforce in the coming years. Can you imagine getting that memo? Hey everyone, thanks for your hard work, but we're going to need fewer of you soon. That's not corporate restructuring. That's economic warfare against the working class. But here's what most people don't realize about this dark truth. It's not happening by accident. This is a coordinated transformation that's been planned for years. While everyone was arguing about politics, the real power players were quietly implementing systems that would fundamentally reshape American society. J.P. Morgan's Marianne Lake projected a 10% reduction in operations headcount due to AI integration. Fiverr's CEO warned that AI threatens all white-collar roles. Programmers, designers, product managers, data scientists, lawyers, customer support,
salespeople, even finance people. When you see this many powerful people saying the same thing, you have to ask yourself, what do they know that we don't? Speaking of that, let me tell you about the real conspiracy here. The data shows that white-collar job postings declined 12.7% year over year in just the first quarter of 2025. Big tech firms have reduced new graduate hiring by about 50% since before the pandemic, and they're all citing AI adoption as the primary factor.
Here's the dark truth that nobody wants to talk about. This isn't just about efficiency or productivity. This is about power. When you eliminate the middle class, and that's what white-collar jobs really are, you create a society with just two classes, the owners of the AI systems and everyone else. Goldman Sachs projects that AI may replace 300 million jobs globally. That's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. That's 300 million families whose lives are about to be turned upside down. And the speed of this transformation is what makes it so terrifying. We're not talking about a gradual shift over generations. We're talking about a complete economic restructuring in just a few years. Now, here's where Farley's warning gets really interesting, and honestly, I think this is the most disturbing part. While all these white-collar jobs are disappearing, America has massive shortages in the trades that actually keep society functioning. Farley estimates deficits of 600,000 workers in factories and nearly 500,000 in construction. That just doesn't sit right with me at all. It's like they've engineered a perfect storm. Eliminate the jobs that people have been trained for while creating desperate demand for jobs that society has been programmed to look down on. Is that really a coincidence? The human cost. Workers pushed to the breaking point. Here's something that really bothers me. Farley shared stories about young workers at Ford who were barely surviving on $17 an hour, working 8-hour shifts at Amazon before 7-hour shifts at Ford, getting only 3 to 4 hours of sleep. These people are destroying their bodies and their mental health just to scrape by, while the executives are planning to eliminate even more jobs. In my view, this is a massive setup. They've spent decades convincing people that trade work is somehow beneath them, that everyone needs to go to college, that white-collar careers are the only path to success. And now, right when an entire generation is saddled with college debt and trained for office jobs, they're pulling the rug out from under them. But wait, it gets even more disturbing when you look at the numbers. The Manufacturing Institute projects that 2.1 million manufacturing jobs could go unfilled by 2030. That could cost the economy $1 trillion annually. Wyoming is facing an 89% deficit between available manufacturing jobs and worker demand. New Jersey is at 86%. A lot of folks don't talk about this dark side, but I think there's something intentional about this crisis. You create a skills gap, you eliminate the jobs people are trained for, and then you have a population that's completely dependent on whatever system you want to implement next. The generational betrayal, the American dream destroyed. Here's what really gets me thinking. Farley's grandfather was Ford's 389th employee back in 1918. He started as an hourly worker and eventually bought his own dealership. That was the American dream in action. But that path doesn't exist anymore, does it? And I don't think that's an accident. The construction industry is short about 500,000 workers right now. With all the infrastructure spending and potential reshoring of manufacturing, that demand is only going to get worse. But instead of addressing this rationally, we've created a culture where parents are embarrassed if their kids don't go to college, even if college leads to debt and unemployment. What would you do if you discovered that your entire career path had been deliberately engineered to become obsolete? Because that's exactly what's happening to millions of Americans right now. They're finding out that the degrees they paid for, the careers they trained for, the life plans they made, all of it was based on a lie. Trade school enrollment has grown 4.9% from 2020 to 2023, while traditional university enrollment declined. But here's the thing, that's not nearly enough to address the shortage. And I suspect that's intentional too. Keep the supply of skilled workers low, and you can control wages and working conditions. The controlled demolition, systematic destruction of the middle class. Now, this is where it gets really sinister when you think about the timing. The World Economic Forum's 2025 Future of Jobs report says 40% of employers expect to reduce their workforce where AI can automate tasks. That's not some distant prediction. That's happening right now, this year. Bloomberg research shows that AI could replace 53% of market research analyst tasks and 67% of sales representative tasks. But managerial roles? Only 9 to 21% automation risk. See the pattern? The people making the decisions about automation are protecting their own jobs while eliminating everyone else's. That reminds me of something else they don't want you to know. Since 2017, white-collar productivity has risen 28% thanks to technology, but workers in hands-on roles have had negative productivity trends for a decade. Why? Because there's been systematic underinvestment in the tools and training needed for physical work. It's like they've been setting up this scenario for years.
Make office work incredibly efficient and automated while deliberately keeping trades work difficult and undervalued. Then, when the automation hits, you have a population that's completely unprepared for the only jobs that will be left. The economic warfare: wages, power, and control. Honestly, I think this is terrifying because it's not just about jobs. It's about the complete restructuring of American society. Manufacturing jobs average $25 an hour right now, which is below the national average. But skilled tradespeople in high-demand areas are starting to command much higher wages. The labor shortage is driving up compensation in trades, while white-collar salaries stagnate. Makes you wonder what else they're hiding, doesn't it? If they're willing to openly discuss eliminating half of all white-collar jobs, what aren't they telling us? What's the next phase of this transformation? Here's my dark take on this. I think we're witnessing the controlled demolition of the middle class. The same people who spent decades promoting college education and white-collar careers are now implementing the technology that makes those careers obsolete. And they're doing it with surgical precision. You know what's really disturbing? A 2023 survey found that 83% of adults aged 18 to 30 believe learning a skilled trade provides a better pathway to economic security than college. And 90% of those respondents were college graduates themselves. They're basically admitting that their own education was a waste of time and money. But here's what makes this even more sinister. Interest in trade school attendance has nearly doubled among both teens and adults since 2017. Search traffic for trade schools is up 27% in 2024 alone. People are waking up to the scam. But is it too late? The final countdown. No time to adapt. The sectors facing the highest automation risk include technology, finance, law, consulting, and entry-level administrative roles. These are exactly the careers that guidance counselors and parents have been pushing kids toward for decades. It's like they've been systematically funneling people into jobs that were designed to disappear. In my view, this is a massive cover-up of the biggest economic disruption in human history. While everyone's been distracted by political theater and social media drama, the real power players have been quietly implementing systems that will fundamentally transform American society. And here's the most disturbing part. This transformation is happening so fast that most people won't have time to adapt.
Anthropic CEO says it could happen in as little as a couple of years or less. That's not enough time for people to retrain, to pay off their student loans, to fundamentally change their life plans. Is this really progress, or just another corporate deception? When Ford CEO warns about an employment apocalypse and then continues to implement the very technologies that will cause it, whose side is he really on? The employment apocalypse that Jim Farley warned about isn't some distant possibility. It's happening right now. The question is, are you going to be prepared, or are you going to be another casualty in the war against the working class? Comment below what you think about this dark revelation. Do you think this job displacement is happening by accident, or is it part of a larger plan? Are we witnessing the controlled demolition of the American middle class? Share this with someone who needs to know the truth about what's coming. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on these kinds of dark automotive and economic revelations, definitely subscribe because I'll be exposing more of these hidden truths that the mainstream media won't touch.